Closing styles. Closing is as simple as getting a customer to make a decision. That is, getting a customer to say yes or no. The key is moving them smoothly to action, and there are a variety of ways you can go about this. Here are some of my favorites. The alternative close. This close might be one of the most universally effective closes. It allows the customer to choose among options. Would you like to pay cash or finance? It is $850 cash or only $15 per month, whichever you prefer. Another way you could use the alternative close is menu selling, which we will get into extensively later in the program. Menu selling gives the customer option packages to choose from that take the F&I person smoothly through the close. The power of suggestion close. You're really going to like this. You're really going to like the fact that your claims are paid for you in the event that you have a breakdown. You're really going to like the peace of mind of having a life insurance policy, so in the event that something happens to you, your beneficiary or spouse will be provided for. You're really going to like this. Ascending close. The ascending close acknowledges the power of an affirmative response. In other words, getting the customer to say yes. Anytime we can form a question so that it gets the customer to have an affirmative or yes response, we are that much closer to the close. We want to get them in a yes answering mode. An example of this, in the encyclopedia sales business, many years ago, the salespeople used to go door to door to sell encyclopedias. They had a series of questions, 100 in all, and each question was designed to get the customer to say yes. They would walk up to the door and they'd knock on the door. The door would open, and their first question was, do you live here? On one hand, that may sound humorous. On the other hand, it's a very important question, isn't it? Do you live here? And they would say yes, and then the salesperson would say, I'm not here to sell you anything. What I would like to do is set this set of free encyclopedias in your home, and all I want you to do is, in the event that your friends or family saw them, that you tell them where they came from. Would you allow us to set a free set of encyclopedias in your home? And of course the answer is yes, it's free. Well, of course. So they went on, and before they knew it, they had said yes, 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 and they ended up with a set of encyclopedias and an atlas and numerous other books, and they just spent hundreds of dollars, and it was all because of the power of an affirmative response. Telemarketers use this frequently. They'll call you up, and the first question is designed for you to answer yes. The idea is that the affirmative response puts you in a yes-making mode. The invitational close. It simply goes like this. Why don't you give it a try? Why don't you go ahead with it? Remember, all we're trying to do is get people to make decisions. The way that we get them to do so is by asking them the right questions or making the right statements. Why don't you give it a try? Or why don't you go ahead with it? The price close or the payment close. The thing about price and payment is that they should never come up until the salesperson is ready for it. If it does, simply say, that's the best part, or that's a good question. I'll get to that in a moment. The assumptive close. What you're doing with the assumptive close is assuming that they're going to take the product. For example, the payment of $465.21 includes credit, life, and disability insurance. That means in the event of your death, your loan will be paid off in full, or if you're sick or injured from work for 14 days or more, the payments will be made for you until one of two things happen. You either go back to work or the loan's paid in full. We set your first payment due date up for 45 days from today, if that works okay. Or we can actually move it back as recent as 30 if you prefer. Or the same approach can be used for gap protection. The payment of $351.21 includes the total loss protection, which means in the event that your vehicle is totaled or stolen and unrecovered, The insurance company will pay fair market value of the vehicle at that time. There is very likely to be a gap between what that is and what the payoff is. Gap protection will pay that difference, and in the addition will cover your deductible. I have your payment due date set up for 45 days from today, or if you'd like to move it back to as soon as 30, we can do that. Whichever makes best sense to you. That's the assumptive, or talking past the sale close. It can be very effective. You tell the customer what the payment is, you acknowledge to them what the benefits are, and then you assume they'll take it and close on their due date. Yep. The takeaway close. People have a tendency that if something is taken away from them, they want it even more. So how do we use this to our advantage in sales? One way is to use waivers to help close a product in the F&I office. A good example of using a waiver in the finance office goes like this. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, since you have decided that the service contract is something that you don't want to go ahead with, I need you to sign this form stating in the event that you do have a major repair bill or even something minor, we have this in the file that shows that you've been offered the coverage. This coverage is only $15 a month, where repairs could cost you hundreds or thousands. If you choose not to take it, I need you to sign right here, saying that you will be responsible for all the future repairs. Does this work? Well, sometimes it does. Sometimes they'll stop and think, maybe I don't want to be responsible for those future repairs, and they'll go ahead and take it. Relevant story close is telling a story about someone that had purchased before and what had happened as a result of their purchase, or someone that had not bought. You know, I was back in the service drive the other day, and I ran into a person that I recognized as a previous customer of mine. Of course, I wanted to know how they liked their bike, so I asked them, how's the bike? Have you been riding much? They looked at me and said, well, not so good right now. You probably can guess the outcome. They had a major repair and they weren't protected. For only $15 per month, I would hate that you end up with the same situation. You can pay cash for the service contract or just include it in your monthly payment. The sharp angle close goes like this. If I could get it within your budget, would you take it? The payment is too high. Well, if I could get it within your budget, would you take it? Some examples on how we could lower the payment are, we could increase the term, we could increase the retro period on the disability insurance, taking it from the 14-day retro to a 30-day retro, if the state allows you to do that. We could decrease the service contract coverage, give them a lesser term, or maybe even reduce the coverage in order to reduce the cost. If I can get it within your budget, would you take it? They say yes. Now figure out a way to do that and take them smoothly through the close. A last resort is that you could always suggest that they put additional cash down if they don't want their payment to go up. Instant reverse close goes like this. That's exactly why you ought to take it. Well, I can't afford it. Well, that's exactly why you ought to take it. If it's difficult for you to afford $10 per month while you're working, how difficult is it for you to afford $250 when you're not? That's exactly why you ought to take it. The instant reverse close allows you to turn the tables on the customer and focus them on your next statement. How about the I can't afford it close? Is it going to be easier for you to afford $15 a month or to pay a major engine repair bill in the event that happens? Is it easier for you to afford $10 a month or for your spouse to have to pay this loan off in its entirety in the event that something happens to you? And then you do what? You listen, because you're attempting to get the customer to make a decision. Now let's summarize. Sales is a transfer of our enthusiasm for the products that we offer to the customer. We first properly approach them and ask them a question that is designed to do what? To break preoccupation. because we understand that in the first minute, a customer will decide if they're not going to buy from us. Not necessarily that they're going to buy from us, but they will decide if they're not going to buy from us just by the way we approach them. Then we take them to the presentation. A presentation is a process to qualify them to buy. We're trying to figure out what is their hot button. What is it about the product that we sell that will get them to make a buying decision? We do this by giving them some information, asking a question, and then listening. We will get objections along the way. We actually welcome them because we know that objections do what? The objections show interest. Now all that's left to do is to answer the objection and then take them smoothly through the close. Take them smoothly through the close by doing what? Asking a question and then waiting for their response.